Hey there, girlfriend. Ingafay here. Super excited to be with you once again. Wanted to share another one of my coaching girlfriends with you, Shauna. She loves to talk about highlight marketing. So we're going to get into that. I'm sure you're kind of questioning, well, what is that all about? Well, you got to stay so we can tell you a little bit about it. But just so you know, Shauna, she uses her skills to create a space where ambitious women feel comfortably confident, leading authentically and inspiring ripples in their community. And I'm sure that in itself makes you go, what does that mean? But we're going to get to that and get to the bottom of that on the other side. So we'll see you on the other side. What's up, Shauna?
Hey, Inga, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great, girlfriend. I'm so excited to have you here, and I'm really looking forward to getting into this highlighted marketing. But before we do that, girl, tell us a little bit about you, who you are, who you serve, and how you serve them.
Absolutely. Yes. So holistic coaches, entrepreneurs, and leaders hire me so that they can build six-figure businesses using marketing that aligns with them, so they can get over the ebb and flow of cash flow and clients and really make the impact that they were intended to make. Now, over and above that, and in my humble opinion, more importantly, I am a mom to 3 beautiful children. I balance more so flow between life and business in a way that combines authenticity and simplicity so that we can show up as our best selves in both life and business, because I do believe that they are intricately intertwined. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Inga.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you here. And you know, I'm all about that authenticity stuff. So we're going to get in your business.
Mm-hmm.
So before you go really deep in, just tell us briefly, what is highlight marketing? What does that mean?
Yes. So this is a term that I coined, like a year or more ago, where I was seeing people using their marketing in a way that just highlighted the pros, highlighted their wins, which is a good thing. Don't get me wrong, but it becomes actually quite toxic when we forget to shine a light on the behind the scenes things that happen before you get to those wins. So let me give you an example of what that might look like. Let's say you see somebody post about the fact that they earned $1 million in only 3 months or something along those lines. We see that all the time, right? 3 months. And that's great. And I love to celebrate that. More often than not, though, this creates a bit of a toxic feel if you're not shedding light on the past 3, 6, 10, 20 years that it took you to streamline those 3 months of intense revenue growth.
Exactly.
So that's the very short version of what highlight marketing comes to mean. And it's represented in a variety of different ways, not just by sharing your revenue and your wins, but also just in everyday content creation. You know, you're going to see things like, if you're a baker, they're going to show you their best quality things and not necessarily the ones that didn't work out so well. Or if you're a speaker, they're going to show you where they really shone instead of the bloopers of them getting tongue-tied, having Freudian slips, and even in my case, when I'm doing some of mine, slipping on ice while I'm recording the reel.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah. We want to see the real deal, Holyfield, right? We want to see the authenticity in everybody. We want people to be really, truly transparent, because that's what people can relate to. All this perfection stuff, that you're right. That's the toxic stuff that makes people feel like they can't step out of their comfort zone because they're afraid to fail, right? We want to see the failure, and we want to see you get back up again and make it happen. That's the kind of thing that people really want to see, right? Are you with me, girlfriend?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is something that, a lot of people forget, because they think that if they share their setbacks, it's going to make them look bad. But what it really does is it creates a space of vulnerability for your audience to connect with you and for you to really make a strong impact on those around you, while actually leading with integrity, while actually being responsible, because you do hold a responsibility when you're showing up in life and business for those around you to show that, hey, I am human. And I function in this space called reality, and we all can, and we give ourselves and others permission and grace to trip, but also empowerment to get back up.
Yes, for sure. So I'm just curious, why do you think people do it?
That's a great question. I have a few ideas, one of which is probably just rooted in that human drive to want to belong. that human drive to want to really kind of fan your plumage, stretch your
Right.
stuff, to really show people what you're made
Right.
of. And it's actually kind of a fallacy, because that doesn't really show people what you're made of. But people are afraid. People are afraid of vulnerability. People are afraid of what would they think. And this can be for a variety of different reasons, both internal and external, culturally and personally.
Right.
But it makes me sad to think about this, because I remember the day that like I was that way. I was thinking, no, I couldn't possibly. And so I would tell myself things that were simply not true. And those things prevented me actually from reaching the next level in my life and in my business, from reaching the next personal and professional growth, be it intrinsic growth or actual revenue growth. And so being able to tap into that vulnerability was truly that key to giving me the opportunity to open the doors to possibility, so that opportunity can walk in. You can take advantage of that and really make it happen.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think we should be more transparent. I think if we were more transparent, then people would be not as afraid to fail, because they see others fail. They just see people's highs. They don't see those valleys. They see the mountains. They don't see the valleys. So we, like you said, it's ebbs and flows that we go through as entrepreneurs. And it's so important to show that, especially for those that are going through their own thing.
And I think that's a really good point, because what we're seeing is people modeling this quote unquote perfection, which PS doesn't exist, right? Practice makes progress, not perfection. Right. There's no such thing as perfection. Right. But we're seeing these people model what we see as perfection. We're seeing these industries, these corporations modeling this perfect, polished thing, and it's fake, right? It's fake, but we feel like we need to emulate that for this sensation of quote unquote professionalism. What does it mean to be professional? Well, in fact, in today's day, that vulnerability is actually a really massive cornerstone toward being professional and progressive in business, and actually making the impact that you want to make as a business owner, but then also, of course, as a marketer and as an influencer in your space.
Right. I would totally agree with that. So I guess you've kind of already talked about this, but let's just hone in and just tell people the truth. Why doesn't this work?
Yes. Well, and I guess we go back to this idea that perfectionism doesn't exist. Perfection, rather, doesn't exist. And you actually wind up, and this is kind of the sad part about it, is that you actually wind up slowly but surely adding bricks to the wall that separates you from your audience. You actually wind up putting up fences, and it creates a lack of connection. It creates sometimes putting yourself on an invisible pedestal, almost untouchable, unreachable. I distinctly remember a coach who I was working with. I really enjoyed her company. I reached out to her, got working with her, was able to connect with her on a more personal level. I don't know whether it was just my audacity that made me able to do that or what, but many of my peers would say to me, oh my goodness, what's she like? Oh, I couldn't possibly reach out to her. She's just so far ahead of me. And I remember thinking, no, she's not. But I didn't, at that time, now this was 5 or more years ago, at that time I didn't realize why they felt that way.
Interesting.
Right? And it was because she had inadvertently put herself on a pedestal and made herself untouchable to people she could have potentially served, people who had the finances to invest and were in a position where they needed her help. But because she had put herself out there in such a very refined way, which may or may not have been true to her. I think we found out later, we had some heart-to-hearts that it wasn't, and she wound up pivoting, which was very interesting. For me as her student, as her pupil, for me to have been able to reciprocally help her. Awesome. But once she was able to change that, once she was able to kind of tap into a more vulnerable space, those people realized that she was human, approachable, and were able to get the help that they needed from her, right? So that's it. Like if you're creating those barriers intentionally or otherwise, by only using highlight marketing, by only sharing wins and making yourself seem, I don't know. I wanted to use the term godlike, but it's not quite that extreme. Just elevating yourself beyond the reality of life, of your day to day. That just creates this untouchability, and you don't want that. You want to be approachable. You want people to want to talk to you. Everybody preaches about the know, like, trust factor. How on earth can you establish all of those things if you've put up barriers?
You're right on. You're right on. And when you were talking, it made me think about an encounter that I had at an in-person leadership event here in town where I live. And the speaker we were all getting lunch, and the speaker was standing there by herself. And I was thinking, the keynote of the conference was standing there by herself. And I was thinking, well, why is she by herself? Nobody's talking to her. So I just kind of waved at her. She waved back. And I was just like, well, why would they do that? I just don't understand. And I end up talking to her because she was sitting by herself. So I went over and asked her if she minded if I sat and had lunch with her. And she told me that typically when she goes to events like that people normally don't talk to her because I guess they see her as the keynote. And because she is deemed the keynote, like you just said, they see her as being higher. Not that she put that facade on, because she didn't. Mm-hmm. It was just the fact that she was the keynote. And because she was deemed the keynote, they were thinking, oh, well, I can't talk to her. And I'm thinking, I'm just talking to her just like she, was my next best friend kind of thing. But it was just amazing to me the way that people interacted with her because of that.
I really like this story because it's twofold. Because she, based on the event and the coordinators of the event did indeed, of course, put her on this pedestal, right. This proverbial pedestal, because she's the right. keynote. And I am a firm believer that you are never not marketing. So because she remained solo, standing or sitting on her own, she reinforced that marketing with her behavior. She marketed herself as unapproachable. It is her responsibility in that space, if she wants to, and it's your choice, to go out and talk to people. When I was one of the main, there were 3 keynote speakers at an event, and when I was one of the main speakers for this event, I made it my purpose, my intention to say hello to everyone. I walked around with my sandwich, eating with, big bites to show my humanity, to show that, guess what, I get stuff on my face and I can clean it off, and you can also ask me about the things that I know about, because that's why I'm here.
Right.
And that's how I want to market myself.
Yeah. Well, in her defense, because we did talk about this, she is a fellow introvert as I, so that's not our thing. We're not.
Yeah. You remember some of our chats?
Yeah, I do.
Nobody will believe me when I say this. Okay, everybody, I am an introvert, but I am an outgoing introvert, and I make intentional goals after this event
that you're gonna be.
When I intentionally presented outgoing, I had to book myself into an Airbnb for 3 days, 2 nights to be alone.
Yeah, to recharge.
That's right. However, it was really my intentionality that made the difference in that marketing position for me, because I was outwardly, it was my role in that capacity to market myself as an approachable person who knows my stuff, because that is who I am. Right. Do I want to do that every other day? Abso-freaking-lutely not. But on the day-to-day, if you were to, or any of these listeners were to message me and say, hey, Shauna, what's up, girl? I'd be like, hey, I love you. I don't know who you are, but I love you, because that's who I am. I am indeed outgoing and compassionate and loving, and I will market myself like that. I will also, at night, unplug, curl up on my couch with a good book,
right,
and just say nothing.
Right. Yeah, I get that. But I know that she, and this is in talking to her, I know she had just done a speaking engagement the day before.
Mm-hmm. And I believe wholeheartedly that she was there to make an impact.
Oh, yeah.
You don't get called on to be a keynote speaker
you're right.
just because.
Oh yeah, you're right. For sure. So yeah. So when you said that's what made me really think about it. And then even in lieu of all what I just said, being an introvert and noticing all that, I still did go up to her and talk to her. So I'm that social introvert too. And then afterwards, I need my quiet time as well. So
absolutely.
I totally get it.
When your favorite outfit is a hoodie.
Oh yeah, exactly.
On off time.
A hoodie. Yeah, with some earphones. I mean, like really in your zone, like no one bothering you, by yourself, kind of thing. Totally
right in front of the face.
Yeah, totally.
I love it. Beautiful. Thank you.
So when it comes to the trends, what are the trends telling us about the highlight marketing? What are they
Yeah.
saying?
So what's really fun about the trends, and this gets me really excited because this is where I can get us as entrepreneurs to meet the world of corporate marketing. This is where we can really see them collide in a meaningful way, in a culturally profound way. So what you're seeing is even in the corporate space, but I think it's even more powerful, in my humble opinion, in the entrepreneurial space, where we are indeed usually the face of our business. You're seeing this shift towards vulnerability, towards being flawed and highlighting that. Now, excuse me, I must admit that the corporate marketing angle is slightly different, because what we see is they're going to show the vulnerability of some of their employees. They're going to show the vulnerability of their marketplace, of our vulnerability, and show that they understand these needs as a corporation, and that's why they're filling these gaps. And that's really important thing to do as a bigger corporation. But then as a smaller business or as a solopreneur, what you're going to see is that same thing, but you're saying, but I know, not we know, I know, because I've lived this. Right. And this is going to open doors, because we're seeing a massive marketplace right here open up, probably from, you're seeing, if you were to look at charts, you're going to see a huge spike from millennials onward, and to the younger generations, where they don't just see brands as a logo. They don't see brands as well, that's a respectable brand, and so I will invest in it because I know that they've got quality products. That is at play. However, what is becoming increasingly important to the modern consumer is relatability, is the ability to look at as a brand, as a person, the ability to say, they believe in the same things as me. We are the same. So lowering that veil and really stepping into imperfection, advocacies, being okay with turning some people completely off, knowing that it's going to light the right people up, that makes a difference. And that steps away from highlight marketing and more towards personalized niche marketing that allows people to connect with you in an authentic way. I get super jealous.
So I love it.
I get
no. I mean, I love that. I love that. So, and I love the fact that you talked about relatability and vulnerability, because I think those are really two keys that people really need to hone into when it comes to their marketing.
Absolutely. And people are fearful of doing so.
Yeah, they are. They're very fearful of doing so, for sure,
for a variety of reasons. And I mean I can touch on many of these reasons, but I often say, for a variety of reasons, each unique to the person and each their own and completely valid. So I like to say that if you are feeling scared, if you are feeling shy, introverted, hesitant, it's okay and it's normal. My MO, hi, I'm awkward. I will say and do things that probably are weird. Not everybody makes grand hand gestures when they're on video. I do, and that's just the way I speak. Not everybody makes funky faces. I do, and that's just the way I roll. And so, I show up as who I am, and sometimes I show up scared, and sometimes I show up tongue-tied, and sometimes, and we can continue this conversation of, it's okay, do it anyways. Because it makes a difference every single time you show up.
Yeah. It's amazing that you said that, because I was thinking about last week, I was creating this webinar and I was just really freaking out. And the thing about it is, I don't know why I was freaking out. I guess because it was the first time that I had done it. And the thing, I have already done this presentation in front of a group of people prior to this. So it's not like it's my first time doing it. It was just the mere fact that I was doing something completely different than what I normally do. I was doing a webinar on Zoom. I had never set up a webinar on Zoom where people had to register to participate and all of that. And I was just like, oh my gosh, am I doing this right? It's like, Inga, would you chill? Really? Come on now. So and just like you were saying, I had to fight the fear and just do it anyway, even though I was just literally spazzing, but I literally had forced myself to do that, literally. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that this is a really important crossroads as well for yourself and for anybody watching, is just that note that, okay, so you said you were going to push through fear. And the reason you were able to do that is because you're in touch with yourself, your values, and your intentions. Because fear exists for a reason. I'm very heavily into neuroscience. I have a background in psychology and brain science. And so fear is there for a reason. It's there to keep you safe. And a lot of people use this as fuel to make you get out of your comfort zone. And that's the other side of fear. The other side of fear is it's okay. You're allowed to carry fear with you as you push through it like you did. And the way you can make a confident decision on whether or not you are going to indeed push through fear and do it anyways, or maybe take note and guide yourself to a more authentic representation of yourself, is to understand who you are and to know your core values and to hone in on that authentic truth. And so you are able to make that choice to push through because you know who you are and you know where you're going. It can be more challenging if you haven't done the personal branding and the internal reflection to make those decisions. And this type of reflection can happen a lot more quickly, albeit sometimes a little messier, when you're able to tap into the opposite of highlight marketing. When you're able to tap into the messy action that is living fully and authentically. So I just wanted to leave that there with anybody watching and listening so that they can understand that it's normal to experience that tear, that it's this twin-mindedness of, I don't know if I should be pushing forward because maybe it's not authentic to me, or if I should be staying put because, or rather what I'm going to argue is pivoting, moving in a different direction, because we don't want to stay put. We always want to move forward. But just choosing between those things when you're in a position of fear. How do I show up? When do I show up? Where do I show up? All that jazz.
Right. So I guess we've kind of already answered this question. I was going to ask you what should we do instead, but you've basically framed all of what that one question I was going to ask in a bow and just made it a pretty present. So let me ask you this. How do you help your clients do this? I mean, saying it is one thing, but doing it is altogether different. So how do you coach them through doing this?
Absolutely. And actually, this is a really fun question because I'm currently taking the way I serve my clients and sprinkling in, if you will, some extra bonuses by collaborative ventures. So that's really fun for me. But at its root, when I'm helping people with their organic growth marketing, we're first and foremost looking at your personal branding and your brand messaging as a business, looking at that intersectionality between life and business and how you're showing up. We're talking about your values. We're talking about your business incentives, your business goals, your personal goals, and how they go together. We're talking about the verbiage that you're going to use in order to market yourself and really creating that foundation for growth. Because as you know, you cannot build an amazing skyscraper without a solid foundation, or it will collapse. And so that's the first thing we're doing. And within that, because of my experience and background, I incorporate a lot of coaching. I incorporate a lot of reflective time where we can actually dive into the meaning behind why you're showing up and how you're going to get to those big, hairy, audacious goals. Yeah. I'm not one to play small, and I'm going to always encourage you to step into your fullest, truest self.
Yes.
So that's the first part of things. The next part of things is taking that foundation and taking messy action, right? Putting yourself out there after having done a content audit, after assessing what makes the most sense for you and your right fit client,
right.
That meeting of minds between you and who they are, where that overlaps, we create a plan of action, and then we take action. The next part of that is gathering data. So you're taking action after having formed a strong foundation, and you're collecting data. You're trying to see who's engaging, why are they engaging, when are they engaging, how are they engaging, which ones are doing, which things that I'm putting out into the world are doing well and which are not. And we're taking all of this information and creating a system a repeatable system by which you can audit continuously your content marketing strategy, all of your outreach, all of your content creation, and all of your some of the bigger things that we address in that stage, I'm going to leave as a like big impact multi-six-figure type of choices.
Okay. Yeah.
And then that way you can repeat these stages and continue to grow. And you have a system by which you can weed out the things that aren't working well for you towards your big vision goal and do more of the things that are working for you, so that you can actually take aligned action and have time to spare to enjoy, to really reap what you sow, right? To really enjoy the life that you've created for yourself.
For sure. For sure. That's powerful. Very, very powerful. So, girl, I mean, you have given us some golden nuggets today. So I wanted to ask you, do you have any final thoughts that you want to share? And then we can talk about your freebie after that.
The last thing I guess I want to share is that I'm an open book. And I want to encourage you to also be an open book. And I try to function in the space of and, not but. And you're allowed to function in authenticity as an open book with boundaries. So when somebody's telling you, and this is something I'm sure that Inga, you can say you may have encountered as well, where they say, I want to be authentic, but I also don't necessarily want to share my entire life with the online world. And you can do both.
Exactly.
When we talk about being authentic, we're not saying air your dirty laundry. We're talking about intentional authenticity. And this is going to go back to neuroscience, whereby who you're being. Think about who you want to be, what you show up as. A great example is I have been working for a long time on being the type of person who goes for walks every single day. And so in order to do that every day, I say, I'm the type of person who goes for a walk every day. That's just who I am. And so we carry that into how you're showing up authentically. And you just say, intentionally, I'm the type of person who shares about my family, but doesn't share my children's faces online. Maybe that's your reality. I'm the type of person who shares about my struggles, but I won't record myself crying in a closet.
Right, exactly.
You're allowed to have boundaries while retaining authenticity. And so, yes, I guess that's my little nutshell. My last words of wisdom. If you're hesitant about showing up, you get to set the rules. It's your choice.
So now tell us a little bit about your freebie. I know you had a freebie, and I will definitely share that in the video description, but tell us a little bit about that too.
Absolutely. So I can't remember which one I told you about, so I'm going to tell you and the audience about two. The first one, and these are really important ones, I think, because the first one is something that's really, really close to heart and home for me, and that is my Facebook community. My Facebook community really functions as a marketing support group, something that typically people would pay to be a part of. I am present in that community, as well as my administrator and a multitude of other people who've been in my world for a long time. So when you enter into this community, P.S., it's free. You have access to marketing knowledge. You ask a question as a post. I will personally respond to it as your personal marketing coach. I will say what needs to be said. If somebody else gets to it before me, I will just go, awesome, that's exactly what I would have said. And so you get free marketing support and coaching and consultation within this community just by being present and showing up. It's also not the type of community where, and you see this all the time, where they'll say, I'm a marketing community, but you're not allowed to market. False. This is a marketing community where I encourage you to market, sell yourself, practice, be prepared for feedback.
Right.
Because I will indeed message you or even comment and say, hey, this was great. These are the areas where I would tweak and change in order to make it better for the next time you do this.
Right.
Right? So this is the opportunity for you to shine. So absolutely check out the link in the show notes to join that community. The second thing I want to talk to you about, and this is a lot briefer, is a resource that I created for actually people in my larger scale community, my paid community. And I wanted to share it with the world because it's a resource that helps you show up consistently for 6 months, and it's repeatable every 6 months. It's called the Brand Visibility Vault. It is literally 6 months of brand visibility content prompts that you can repurpose every single 6 months. So It's actually mind-blowing, the type of visibility you get that includes hand-raising interactions so that you can actually see who are your hot leads, who are your warm leads, who are your cool leads, and how can you actually engage them further to get those leads to convert. So it's not just visibility, it's also conversion. You're going to find that in the show notes as well, but you can also find it at www.shaunalee.com/brand visibility vault. You can find all of that there. As of the date that this is being recorded, it's currently under construction, but within the next 3 weeks, you will 100% be able to access everything on that website, which includes all of these resources as well.
Awesome. All right, so she giving y'all all these goodies for show. I love it, love it, love it, love it. All right, girl. Well, it has been a pleasure connecting with you today. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your wisdom and giving us all these value-packed nuggets that you gave us today. And those watching, thank you again for watching. If you have someone you would like me to interview, by all means, let me know. Drop me a DM or send me a message on Facebook. And as always, bye for now.